Hey everybody, and welcome to another ThoughtLoad Thursday. I'm Nico, and today we're going to be talking about promises. Now, why are they important? A lot of us may say or use the word promise with our friends or our loved ones, sort of in a nonchalant type of way. But what does that do? If we make promises to our loved ones, our family members, our friends, and we really don't mean what we say, kind of devalues the impact of a promise or what a promise is to us, not necessarily to our friends and loved ones. I think they'll always come back and love us, be our friends, that type of stuff, unless we truly hurt them. That's a different thought load. But if we try to make promises that we know we can't keep, we're only damaging our mental health and our mental status about promises and how they affect our lives later on. And the important part about promises in this thought load in particular is not how other people see the promises that we make, but how the promises that we make affect ourselves. If you've been a guest of the channel, listening to our podcasts and thought loads, one of the things you may have heard is something called the rocking chair test. Now, that's something that Tony Robbins terms, but I'll give you a quick overview. Imagine that you're 80, 90 years of age, you've lived life, you have everything that you want, and you're sitting on your rocking chair on your front porch in retirement, and you're just remembering all the things that you did and enjoyed in life. And during that time, you're also thinking about what you didn't do. The things that you did not do or did not accomplish that you wanted to accomplish, those are the promises that I'm talking about. Because throughout life, there's certain things that I would imagine everyone comes across that says, people say, I want to do this, or I have to do this at some point in life, whether it's writing a book or building a business or having kids or whatever the case may be for you. I want us to look at those promises and understand how impactful they are to our short-term success and our long-term health. See, if we value the promises that we make, even in passing to our friends, we value the promises that we make to ourselves as well. And if we have those promises held in high regard, we're more likely to achieve them. We're more likely to do something about it. And in the short term, that helps us make a plan. That helps us figure out how to accomplish that promise, that goal, whatever it is that we set out to do. It helps us do that in the short term. Now, in the long term, it helps reduce regret. Because if we make a promise to ourselves or to a loved one, and we know that we gave it our best and we fulfilled the promise, then there's no regret that can come back and say, hey, you should have done this a little better. Hey, you never gave this a try. What about that book that you never read? The last thing that I want for anyone listening to these podcasts and these recordings is for you to be in that rocking chair when you're 80 years old and feel some type of regret. Now, as I've mentioned many times before, I don't think it's possible that we can get rid of all regret, but there's some easy things that we can do in life as we get to those older years that can really reduce the amount of regret that we may feel when we're actually in that rocking chair. So I want everyone to think about the promises that they've made recently, whether it's promises to your family or loved ones, whether it's promises to yourself, and really dig deep. Think about when you were a kid and the dreams that you had when you were a kid. Did you want to be a firefighter? Did you want to be a ballerina? Did you want to be a doctor? What did you want to do when you were a little child? And if any of those dreams and aspirations from when you were a kid still hold true today, in a way, that's a promise you've made to yourself throughout time to go after something that means something to you. I'll try and say that in a different way. When we're all kids and we have those ambitions in life, that's kind of the universe telling us what we're interested in, what we should or should not go after. And in a roundabout way, we're making a promise to ourselves that I want to try this. I want to succeed in this. I want to figure this out, whatever it is for you. And I want us to fulfill those promises to ourselves. Imagine I'm assuming everyone's a little older listening to this, and I don't have a 7-year-old listening here. But, if you're past college and into your working years, imagine that you were standing in front of your 10-year-old self and said, hey, remember that thing that you wanted me to do? I did it. I gave it my all. And it worked out. And you'd be so much happier for it, telling your 10-year-old self that we did it. We looked at the thing, we built the whatever. Fulfilling a promise and telling your younger self would feel pretty damn good. So remember that promises are not something to be thrown around. I think a lot of words and language in today's vernacular is not as meaningful as it was before, especially 100 plus years ago. Remember that our words have power, especially when it comes to how we speak to ourselves and the promises that we make to ourselves. So guys, remember to keep the ones you love close, fulfill the promises that you make to yourself and to your loved ones. And remember that everything doesn't have to happen overnight. You can make plans, you can think about these promises, these things that you want to do in life, and start to inch closer to achieving them. And if you're comfortable with that, that's great. But the most important part of that process is taking the steps to do it. And once we actually fulfill the promises, we're going to feel so much better for it in the long term. And I'm sure our older and younger versions of ourselves will thank us for it. Guys, hopefully you enjoyed this thought load. Stay tuned in a couple Thursdays for another episode to drop. And as always, begin the duel, win the day.